Brandon Benefield, Gerard Bonner, and Diana Michelle.
What's up, everybody? It's that time of the week. It's Friday. You know what that means. It's time for the SHW podcast. This is our wrestling. We are back, and we're back for the first time since SHW48, and we've got a
Did
big.
you miss us?
Oh, of course they missed us. I missed y'all. I know
I
that's
missed
you guys. Like, hello.
absolutely. So we got a big recap from SHW48. It was a major show, and a lot of big things happened. And I say, well, before we get to it, let's check in because, again, we were off last week. So how's everybody doing? I'm holding in there. I'm hanging in there. What are you guys up to? Everybody good?
I'm good. I can't remember what I did last week now. Did you say GB? As I think.
You know what? I'm good. I mean, the world of wrestling is pretty amazing right now. So many incredible things happening all over the wrestling world, including at Southern Honor. So it's a good time to be alive and a good time to be in this sport we call pro wrestling. Absolutely.
Do you feel a shift coming about? I kind of feel a shift coming about.
I think it's already happening.
Yeah.
It's already happening. And those of us who have had the pleasure of being wrestling fans for longer than 5 or 10 years, we've really seen how this business is shifting. And we're in a space right now that is historic. And I fear that most of the fans who are watching right now probably don't have enough history or context to understand why these times are so special to so many of us. So
That's why we're here to educate.
that is exactly why we're here.
That's why GB's here, especially.
Right.
GB's like an
We
encyclopedia.
just throw it out there and he can elaborate, right?
Love it. I love it. Well, kicking things off here with SHW48, of course, Gary comes down to the ring with Todd Sexton, and he's going to be announcing the new matchmaker for Southern Honor Wrestling. And because Todd's with him, I'm kind of thinking, okay, is it just going to be Todd Sexton? I mean, he's been a Booker of the Year in other promotions many times, and he's an official backstage at SHW, and it just makes sense, right? And so he comes out there, and
I don't know, because he came out with him, it would have been too easy to say Todd. So immediately I was like,
Yeah, but I had no clue who else he could have been talking about. I mean, given all of the descriptions he was making, I mean, it just seemed obvious. It was like, okay,
yeah,
all right, yeah, and then
what I want to know though too is the way Gary said it and the way he phrased it. I wonder if Todd was expecting him to say Todd. You know, like Todd was out there thinking like, oh, I'm going to get my promotion here or whatever you want to call it.
Definitely cheering Todd. So
absolutely,
because he ended with Todd. Take a look at my new matchmaker. And he points to the screen. And
brilliant.
We were all just floored, I think, because none other than WWE Hall of Famer Jake the Snake Roberts, pro wrestling legend. Now he has appeared in SHW a couple times, like during our first year, so it's been a little while since we've seen him. Of course, he's always kind of supported SHW from afar. And, being involved with DDPY and a lot of the guys from DDPY supporting SHW, working with SHW. So he's always been there.
Documentary as well.
What's that?
Yes.
Yeah, he was in the documentary.
Yeah, he had his own documentary. Well, he was in Hold Your Fork. That's right. He had his own documentary as well. And so, yeah, he's certainly been a massive supporter of what we do here.
So pretty amazing to think that he's now going to be kind of calling the shots and making the matches for Southern Honor. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's scary.
Well, go ahead.
It's scary. Yeah, I mean,
I don't know if it's scary. It's just exciting.
No,
it's intriguing.
Not scary. I think it's going to be amazing. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be every show is going to be one. What has he done this time? But I will say, Jake, I was glad to watch him from this side of the television when I was a kid. There's no way I was going to be there with a snake, and anytime he would.
I didn't think about that.
No, there's no way I could do it.
I'm not sure. Yeah, I don't want any snakes showing up.
Dude, if he does, I'm making a door somewhere because Miss Michelle will not be there. I promise you that. Here, poof, gone. So I'm telling you, I love the idea, but if the snake comes out.
I won't be far behind you.
Nothing but dust.
Because we're at ringside, and if they're in the ring with a snake, I don't know.
I'm telling you, I'm gone.
I might have
To
to
the
go back to the
car.
early days, GB, when before you
Oh.
came along, we were sitting in the crowd, like behind the crowd is where the
Oh,
wow.
commentary table was.
I
So
would throw Zach in the path so fast.
Zach would love it. He would love
He
it.
would, and I'd let him, and I'd be getting the mess out of there.
And then he'd tell us how, he was
How
about
he
to beat the
tamed it.
snake, but
yeah.
it's just
He'd have him
I
in
will
front.
I will say this. I was talking about just amazing times, and there are obviously a lot of our fans who did not have the pleasure of seeing Jake the Snake actually in the ring in his
Shame.
prime. Jake the Snake Roberts, all the folks who do the DDT now, it originated with Jake the Snake, and when
That's
he
right.
did it, it was powerful, it was special, it was incredible. His mind is different. And
Yes.
that's what excites me about this. His mind, I mean, he's got 40 plus years, maybe even 50 years in this business in terms of his connection to it, the way his mind works, the way he approaches things. So what kinds of matches will he come up with? And by the way, you can check out Jake the Snake this Sunday night on A&E as part of WWE Legends. There's an entire show
yes.
about our new matchmaker on A&E. So definitely check it out this Sunday night at 8 p.m. Eastern.
That's so cool to think about. That's so cool to
How do
say.
you
that-
know all this stuff? How do you know
He's-
all this stuff?
Well,
How
I
do you?
Well, I mean,
how do you
I've
get
seen
all
the.
this information? It's right on time.
It's just,
Well, I mean, they've been showing the commercials a lot on
I
television.
know, but you think
so
I'm
I-
thinking about commercials right now? GP's he's like a vault of knowledge.
So what? But what's cool is that we knew that was coming, but it's cool now to say that it's not just a Jake the Snake show, a show about Jake the Snake. It's a show about the SHW matchmaker, Jake the Snake Roberts. That's what's super cool. But anyways, so that kicked off the show. And if that wasn't big enough, I mean, we still had a whole show to get to. We hadn't even had a match yet. While Gary and Todd Sexton are still at ringside, none other than the Priest of Punishment makes his way out to the ring. Judas, in the last image we saw at SHW 47, was Judas in the ring having choke slammed Gunnar Miller. We weren't sure if he was in cahoots with Corey Hollis. Corey Hollis seemed to be denying it, but we weren't sure. And we'll get to this eventually in this recap, but we're still not really sure what's going on in that situation.
Even more unsure now.
Right. And so, of course, Judas had a match with Proc the Croc Johnston, making his second singles match in SHW. And we had said it on the pre-show and during the match. Actually, he had come the first time he had a singles match was against Joe Black, and I think he impressed a lot of people, kind of taking Joe to the limit, dare I say. But again, had his work cut out for him here against just a monster with the Priest of Punishment, and he tried to give it a go, but I mean, there was just no denying Judas in this match. Judas wasn't messing around. I mean, he took it to old Proc to Croc, but. Give it up to Proc for showing up and giving it his best shot, though.
Definitely. Judas had a presence.
Yeah.
Just the whole entire match, it was just a cloud of nothing but Judas and all of his glory, if you want to call it. But let me go back. Did you notice the encounter between Judas and Gary and Todd as they were trying to make their way out, but of course they had to wait because who's going to walk up the ramp as he's coming down, right?
Yeah.
But there was a little exchange, and I'm not sure what that was or what it meant, but I'm keeping my eye on that. What are your thoughts on that, GB? I know you saw it. It was right there at you.
I definitely saw it. And, I was just going to say, nothing just happens around here.
Thank you.
And, I said this and you guys looked at me like I was crazy at the pre-show for SHW 47 when, they had the big match for control of this company. And I told you I was nervous about who the third person was because we might be getting rid of one problem, but we may be ushering in a whole new situation. Now, I'll just say this. It has been believed by many that if there was ever one person who Judas would listen to in the front office, it would be Todd Sexton.
Right.
They have a long-standing relationship. And so there's a part of me that wonders, to your point, Diana, when because during this whole thing involving, control for the company and the like, Todd Sexton was the steady Eddie. He was the one that was really trying to make sure, hey, let's remember why we're here. Let's remember what this company's supposed to do. So just think about it. If you have worked super hard throughout a company, you've done all the work, you have kept things afloat when things are going crazy, and now there's a time for somebody to name you to get this next promotion. Oh, and you just won an award for being the best one of those of the entire year. Certainly you'd be the front runner, right? Wrong. But what they do is they go and get somebody from outside of the company and they hire them, and you have to train them to do the work. We've all been there at our jobs. So I'll just say this, I'm nervous. I'll just say that.
Thank you.
I'll just say that. You aren't the only one, Diana.
Thank you.
Not the only one. Mm-hmm.
Well, after the match, Corey Hollis makes his way to the ring. Now, here's the thing. Corey had his match with Carly Bravo coming up next. However, it was odd timing because Judas had just won his match, and before they even left the ring, Corey's music hits. Corey makes his way out, and I'm thinking, hey, maybe we're going to get some answers.
Did his music hit, though? I can't remember. Did it hit? Did it just come out?
Yeah, it did.
No, it hit. That's what, because it got us thinking, like, oh, Corey's coming out. What's going on here? Because we thought maybe we're going to get some answers from what happened at the last show.
Right.
But no, instead, they just kind of get in each other's face, and it seems like Corey's like, I don't want your help, and I don't really know what Judas was saying, but it seemed like Judas was going to hang around ringside, which he ended up doing for Corey's match, because then Carly Bravo comes out. Now, Carly, give it up to Carly getting on the mic and talking some trash.
But that's what he does. Through
the guys formerly known as Lethal Poison. Exactly. And there was no, and at the time, he had no backup out there of his own. Now, Dishonor was in the house, but they were backstage, and we still weren't sure, and I'm still not sure, where Carly stood with Dishonor, seeing as how Carly pretty much cost them the match the month before.
I think he stands with them at all, personally. I mean, did they not just walk right past him, not even acknowledging him?
Right.
I mean, and then the whole end of the show, but we'll get to the end of the show, but still.
Yeah, and I was going to get to that because that happened in the very next match. But prior to that happening, Carly gets on the mic, does a little, I'm a little teapot, or whatever he did, which was, it was pretty funny, but
Carly.
I don't want to ruffle any feathers, so it wasn't me that said it. I'm just repeating what happened at the show. Yeah, we're unbiased journalism here. We're reporting the facts. It happened. But anyways,
you missed it.
What a match! And we said it when we saw it on paper. We were like, "Oh, this could steal the show. Of all the matches that are show stealers, this could be the one to actually steal the entire thing." And it was Corey, Carly, first time ever locking up singles match. What a great match. And it was a shame to see it end the way it ended, which was Judas interfering and costing Corey the match via DQ. But man, what a matchup it was up to that point.
It really was. And shout out to TJ Burke and company for the amazing pictures from that match, because they were awesome. Or all of them were, but those especially, Carly and his facial expressions and all that is Carly Bravo. But yeah, what a match it was. I mean, it's good to see Corey back and doing his thing. He's definitely not missed a beat, and Carly's just shining. I mean, he's shining. So, I mean, it's a great match. Judas, like I said, his presence never left, and whatever. So we'll see. So happy there. Mess.
I believe it was Janet Jackson, one of many, who said, like a moth to a flame by the fire. I think that's what we have going on between Judas and Corey Hollis. I mean, Judas can't stay away. Judas, it's like Judas has found his long lost friend, his leader, who provides him direction. Please don't leave me. Please don't go. And so anywhere Corey is, Judas is soon to follow. And so Judas stays out during this match. And we didn't mention this, but one of the things that we saw during this show that I don't recall really regularly seeing before, I don't know what that was. That was hilarious. Judas was smiling. He was smiling.
Yes,
Like, it's a scary thing to see Judas smile. Now, all those months before we saw him with that crazy spike, he did not have a smile. He had no spike. Instead, he had a smile because he felt close to Corey. And yet Corey's trying to deny it. He's trying hard to deny it.
Sing it.
He's trying hard to fight it. No way can he deny it. I'm in my SWV right now. Look, it's just happening to me. I'm just saying we're in a space right now where there's a lot going on and nobody wants to tell us. But what I do know is Carly Bravo is that guy.
Oh, yeah.
And Carly Bravo and Corey Hollis had an incredible match. But by the end of the show, I'll have more questions, which we'll talk about later.
And GB, I was going to ask you.
Yeah,
yeah. And I was going to ask, what do you think is scarier? Judas coming at you with a spike or Judas smiling at you?
I think Judas smiling.
They're both equally terrifying, I think.
They're equally terrifying. But Judas, I mean, at least with a spike, you know he's going to probably try to stab you.
Right.
When he's smiling, you don't know what he's thinking.
Yeah.
And that is frightening.
Yeah.
It's the half grin for me.
Oof.
Yeah, just
It's half grin.
oh,
It's
boy.
overload of confidence and just like, I'm going to run through any and everybody to get what I want, how I want it, and move out of the way. Toots. That's how I feel about it when I'm in the ring.
Hey, me too. Me too. I say you alluded to this earlier, Diana. So after this match, Carly kind of comes to after being taken out by Judas and realizes, hey, I just won the match. Though it was via DQ, but he won the match. And so he's kind of celebrating on the outside. His teammates, at least we think they're still their teammates, stablemates from Dishonor, Happy Madness, are making their way out for their match. They have a tag team championship defense coming up right after this. And they literally walked right past Carly. Carly's looking at them like, hey, I just won, trying to celebrate a little bit. Sunny days, boom, right by.
It was like he wasn't even standing there.
Sauronaro walked right up to him, did a little spin move, boom, right by him. And GB, I think you even said it, walked right by him like he was invisible,
Right.
like he wasn't even there. And so, yeah, that kind of, again, more answers from last month that we still don't know the full answers to. Like, what does that mean? Is Dishonor fully blown apart? Are they still, I don't know. I know that Sonny and Sal were still a unit. And they were a unit before they were even in Dishonor as Happy Madness. And so we know that they're still together. But anyways, that brings us to that matchup. It was Sonny and Sal versus a team that I never knew I wanted to see together until I saw them together.
And I want to see it again.
And I do too. Michael Stevens and Matt Sells. What an entertaining match it was. However, and GB, you may touch on this in a second, but you said it on commentary. There were times where I feel like these guys had the match won had they not been screwing around and cracking another cold one and, having a little too much fun, not realizing, or maybe they realized it and they just didn't care. I don't know, but the titles were on the line. If you can get the pinfall here, you'll win the titles. You'll be the new tag champs. But instead, let's crack another cold one and kind of do the silly stuff. As entertaining as that is, I really want the titles off of Happy Madness, if I'm being honest. And so I was really hoping that they could pull it off. And I really thought we were going to see the upset of the night there. But Happy Madness retains, still your SHW tag team champs. I will say this, at least they finally defended the titles. So
right.
There's that.
But then there's another side that you can almost beat the tag champs, even by goofing off. What can a serious tag team do? Say like All-Star Special.
Good point.
I mean, they're due, right? Waiting patiently for my Huck to get well, and come on back, take those titles back. But in the meantime, let them keep playing around and entertaining us.
I believe it's mess around and find out.
Mess around and find out.
Yeah, that's a good way to say that.
Yeah.
There are other ways that it's said.
I'm trying to keep it PG here.
Thank
PG,
you.
we have
Thank you. Well, because there are other folks in that building that might actually say it.
Well,
So one thing I know for sure is there are people who are excited to get to SHW, which is a great thing. Let's just establish this. And I think it's safe to say, I know, that the award for promotion of the year went to another promotion, and that's fine. But the truth of it is, we're still those guys. We all know it. They all know it. It's the case. So when people get to Southern Honor, they are very excited to be there. But here's the thing. Once you get there, what are you going to do? Nobody remembers who lost the Super Bowl, okay?
Right.
Working hard to get to the Super Bowl only matters if you actually win this thing. And so what concerns me here, and I mentioned it on commentary, I'm not sure that it was the goal of Sells and Stevens to actually become champions. I think they were just glad to be there, and it reminds me of, we've had a number of wrestlers here on the podcast who we have asked kind of where they stood in this whole SHW dishonor thing. And many of them were neutral. They were just like, hey, you know what? I'm not getting in it. Just, as long as nobody bothers me, I'm okay. I think that's what we saw here. So for us, where we're like, let's get SHW in the full control of SHW folks, everybody's not there. And so I think my hope to our great matchmaker, Jake the Snake, find some folks who actually care, not just about performing at SHW, but about becoming the tag team champions or winning whatever gold in the matches that they're in. Because
and staying at SHW.
Then there's that. I think people just want certain things on their resume, which there's no knock to that. No knock to that at all. It's just a point of, I think our slightly selfish interests are, if SHW is going to be back in control of SHW, then let all things SHW have its proper control.
Exactly. And it doesn't have to be another face tag team. It could be another heel tag team. I don't care.
Time will tell, because at one point it felt like our tag team division was really ramping up and was looking good. And then it kind of, I don't know, it's just kind of been by the wayside for the last few months. And as I said, they hadn't even defended the titles in however many days it was. You mentioned it on commentary, but so it was good to see them at least defend the titles. Who knows who's going to come up, who's waiting in the wings to challenge them next. Time will tell. We do know, by the way, that's a good time to throw this plug out there. April 14th will be the next time that SHW comes to the Action Building. It'll be SHW49. We are taking off a month, but April 14th. Put it on your calendar now. Make your plans now. That will be when we will see you in the Action Building next. And we'll get to this once we get towards the end of the show, but there has been a main event already announced for that show. And just stay tuned to the social media throughout the next month and a half or whatever it is, and you will see all the match announcements as they come. But moving on down the card here, after that tag team matchup, we had Nick Halen and Parker Lee. Parker Lee making his singles match debut here at SHW. Nick Halen coming out to the ring, of course, a co-winner of the Wrestler of the Year in the state of Georgia. And as he was announced by Diana Michelle the proper way, and then he came out and got in your face and demanded that you just name him the only Wrestler of the Year in the state of Georgia, which you did. And I understand that when they get in the ring and they're in your face, you're just like, fine, I'll do what you want, blah, 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 blah.
And I don't even care about that.
But so Nick Halen, Parker Lee, there was a lot that happened after the match. We'll get to that in a second. I will say though, about the match itself, Nick Halen, of course, came out on top. I would love to see Parker Lee back in SHW, given some more time, given some more action, whether it's tag team, whether it's singles, I don't care. This kid's, we've talked about it before. GB, we've seen him since his early days at the Nightmare Factory, and we know this kid can go. And anyways, Nick Halen got the win here, keeping his win streak alive, I guess. But I hated it for Parker because I was like, oh, I want to see more Parker Lee here. But oh well.
Well, I think we were talking about it pre-show.
Yeah.
So I was excited to see Parker Lee. I'm not familiar with his singles action, but I was impressed. Definitely impressed. I do want to see more of Parker Lee at SHW. And like you said, anywhere, it doesn't matter if it's singles or, doubles or triples, whatever you want to call it. I don't care. Just bring the kid back. I mean, I think he has the look, he has the ability, he has the athleticism. He's made for SHW. Can I say that? Is that all right?
You absolutely can.
You just did.
Yeah.
I feel like he belongs. I mean, it's just he belongs.
Mm-hmm.
We belong to the light. Anyway,
Everybody's very singy tonight. I like
I
it.
know.
It's the way of the
It's
world.
a thing. It's
a
thing.
real thing. It is
Just
a
wait.
thing.
I'll get there by the end of the show. You'll see.
It'll come around, I'm sure. It certainly will. Yeah. No, we're massive fans of Parker Lee, and he is a rising star. And again, that's the beautiful part about Southern Honor is you get to see everybody roll through there. We have seen some people in their early days kind of really go on to do some great things. And I think that Parker Lee is one of those guys. So I'm really excited that we get to see him. And I do hope we get to see him back, taking nothing away from Nick Halen, who quite frankly, after the GWH awards, man, like he's on a roll. Three-time winner.
Yeah.
I mean, like really, he was the man of the night. And so he took that momentum into Southern Honor. And while he's still preoccupied with Buff, or so it seems, it's what happened after the match that may have altered all of that quite a bit.
I guess we could say we got a double whammy after the match because two massive surprises back to back. Like I was like, oh, I can't take it anymore. This is great. There's just so much at once. So we talked about him being a co-winner, even though he demanded to be announced as the only winner of the Wrestler of the Year in Georgia. Well, the other person that was the co-winner won AC Mack, who we've not seen in SHW in quite some time. He's been off as the IWTV World Champion for a lot of last year. He's been all over the country doing things. And, of course, he was co-winner, as we said, of the Wrestler of the Year in Georgia. So he comes out at the end of the match and surprises everybody, and the place is going nuts. I mean, it is going nuts. It is so loud in that building, and he gets on the mic and he says AC Mack is back, and there can only be one Wrestler of the Year in Georgia. And he didn't directly say it, but I took that as a challenge to Nick Halen that we're going to see these guys clashing at some point. I don't know if it'll be at the next show or when, but I can't wait to see it. And again, like you said, not taking anything away from Nick Halen. He was co-wrestler of the year. He was he the technical wrestler of the year? There was a third one too.
That's right.
And match of the year.
He had match of the year.
So I mean, there's taking nothing away from him, and he's been around a while. He's a veteran, and to get his flowers this past year with all the stuff he did was amazing. And then AC Mack, on the other hand, becoming a world champion and getting his flowers as well. So I mean, both of these guys, both worthy of Wrestler of the Year. But like Max said, I'm not about this tie. I don't like these ties. I want to see one true winner.
Right. When we were at the award show and we three had to announce the winner of this award.
Yeah.
And me pulling the envelope, pulling it out of the envelope, and I'm saying, and I asked Brenda, I said, we ever had two winners?
I looked at the bag. I'm like, why are there two trophies in this bag?
Right.
What is this?
So we picked up the wrong one, but it's the only one left, right?
Yeah.
So, it was completely weird to have two Wrestlers of the Year, but I'm for this match. For this match.
I can't wait.
Totally. Yeah.
And I did say,
it's going to be special. I
did say double whammy. So the second part of the whammy, that was just the first part. The second part, and GB, you touched on it. Nick is still had this infatuation, or whatever you want to call it, with Buff Bagwell. He's been coming to the ring wearing the top hat, Buff's top hat, coming with Buff's music, wearing the NWO shirt. And I still don't quite get it. I don't understand what the situation there is. But he's up on the stage, Max in the ring, and all of a sudden, Buff's music hits once again, and the real Buff Bagwell comes out, and not Mr. Bagwell. This is Buff Bagwell in the NWO shirt, and without the crutch. I mean, he looks healed up. He looks like he's in medically. I don't know if he's medically cleared to have a match. I don't know. I don't want to speak out of turn here, but
do that.
but I don't know. But he threw some right hands and he took down Nick Halen. He got physical, folks. I mean, and it wasn't just hitting with a crutch. Like, he threw some punches. He got physical, took his top hat back and put it right back where it's supposed to go on top of Buff's head. And another big pop from the crowd. The crowd, again, it was like super loud for Mac to the point where it's like deafening in there. And then Buff shows up unexpected and it got deafening again. It was quite a post-match situation. Like I said, a double whammy. I thought it was great.
It's amazing. I mean, he almost knocked Nick Halen off of the ramp onto the floor, and it was so overdue. I mean, props to Nick, but it was so overdue. When he knocked him down. What was it? A couple of months ago, he was on a crutch and he knocked him in the floor, and that was rude. He's a legend, and he's injured. Okay, don't do that. Don't do that. So he got his just desserts.
Little comeuppance. Yeah.
Comeuppance. Yeah.
Absolutely. And so, yeah, it was a lot that happened there, and it seemed as though when one door closes, another door opens, and the idea that we could see Nick Halen and AC Mack battling to determine the wrestler of the year.
Yeah.
Wow. Huge. Absolutely.
That's main event anywhere in the state.
Oh,
you better believe
absolutely. It. Absolutely. And the fact, and so, yeah, Mack said he, kind of basically called him out for seemingly a match, which I can't wait for. But the biggest takeaway I heard him say on the mic, I touched on it a second ago, AC Mack is back. Okay. And it was so good to hear him say that, because we have missed him so much. And I mean, it was just great, the reception he got from that crowd. And that's the thing about Southern Honor. And I just want to say this real quick. There are so many other promotions, and there's nothing wrong with this at all, because we've done it as well. But so many other promotions will bring in outside names, or names that are like nationally known names that come in for like one-off matches or one-off shows or whatever, whether they're legends, whether they're current stars, whatever. But I love it at SHW is that we have this roster that's so talented, that's so good, that our crowd are so involved with. You know what I mean? Like they've followed them throughout the whole time they've been in SHW. And so homegrown talent basically is what I'm saying. And so when they're gone for a while and they come back and they get the reaction that you would think an outside, big star would get, I just love it, man. It gives me chills. And it was so good to see that. Same thing like when Ashton showed up a couple months ago and he had been gone for so long.
Right.
I just love seeing stuff like that. So very cool to see Mac back. Very excited to see what happens with him and Nick Halen. And who knows if the Buff situation is totally resolved, if there's still more there, we don't know. But it was fun to see him get a couple of licks in on Nick and get his hat back for sure. But
really.
And we're only like halfway through the show, folks. So,
right.
Moving on down the card.
Yeah,
moving on down the card, we had the Southeast Best of 7 series continuing at SHW48 with match number 6. I'm talking about Owen Knight, Najacism. Najacism came into the night up 3-2. If he won match 6, he'd take the series. If Owen won it, he'd tie the series, forcing a match 7. What blew everybody's mind, as if our minds hadn't been blown enough already during this night, was Owen Knight coming away with a very, very quick win in match number 6. I mean, to the point where, and there may be, I think there's pictures or video of us, GB, we're on our feet in disbelief, and at how quick that match 6 went down. There was a quick dive to the outside from Naja. Owen was able to get him. Gave him a clock out on the concrete, and that's what did it right there. He clocked him out on the concrete, got him back in the ring. I think he gave him one more drop kick, pinned him. That was it. And I wasn't timing it. I didn't have my stopwatch going.
Yeah,
but
it was fast.
It was quick.
It was fast. Yeah.
And I think we were all kind of like, okay. I mean, it was cool because Owen kind of being the hometown guy there, was kind of his home turf. We kind of wanted to see him tie it up. Mainly not because it's like I like one guy over the other or anything like that. Nothing. I don't want Naja coming after me. But these two guys are so talented and put on such amazing matches. We want to see it go the full 7.
Yes, exactly.
And that was really the main thing. And so, I was a little disappointed for a second because I thought, oh well, match 6 is over, and I guess
So sure. It's like, oh my
match
God.
7 will be at another promotion in the next month or so. Little did we know that Naja would dig down deep, and against our better judgment. Like, I thought that he was crazy at first. He came back to pay off for him, but he said, "I want match 7 right now. Somebody is leaving here, the winner of this series." And Owen accepted. The ref checked on Naja. Naja said, "Yes, I'm good to go." And then they proceeded to put on an incredible clinic of a match.
Yeah.
Match number 7 right then and there. And then GB said, "Oh, by the way, so for the promotion that was supposed to get match 7, too bad." Because now we got it.
Sorry.
And it was great. But I will tell you what, I get your thoughts on this match too, because it was incredible. And of course, as I mentioned, Naja did end up winning. Kind of surprised us after the way match 6 went. But he took the trophy home. And of course, there was a big old trophy. We showed it on the pre-show. Big, beautiful trophy there at ringside.
Medal.
And and a medal. And so, but man, what a match and what a series overall. It's been, and when did it start? When did we have we had match 3 back in
like December or so.
Yeah, and so I guess November might have been when the series originally started, but so it's been going on a few months, but it finally come to an end. Najasism wins the best of 7 series. Your thoughts?
Do you think it's over? Do you think they're done for a while with each other?
I don't know. They tried to there was an attempt at a handshake after the match. And I get where Owen's come from. It didn't happen, but I get where Owen's frustrated. I get that. It could have been one of those things where he got to the back or he got home later that night and said, "You know what, I probably should have shook his hand," but you're just caught up in the emotion of it. You just gave it everything you had and you lost, especially after winning match 6 like that and thinking, "Oh, I got this. Now I've got the momentum going," and then you end up losing. I could see where he'd be frustrated. The handshake did not take place. I mean, it's not Ring of Honor. It wasn't like demanded that they have to shake hands.
No.
But I would have expected somebody like Owen would have accepted the handshake. But again, he's frustrated. I understand. So, but who knows? Who knows if it's over? Who knows what's going on?
Yeah.
It's SHW. We never know what's going on. Like, what does it mean for next month? Who knows?
That's the best part. And maybe we're getting that other side of Owen that I met when I first started SHW.
Well, he used to be a part of a group called the New Era, and they were all kind of jerks at one point. But it's weird. We've seen all of them turn a new leaf at some point or another. AC Max won. David Ali's won. Danny Jordan's won. Where somewhere along the way they kind of turn a new leaf. And but who knows? Maybe Owen's turning the leaf the other way again. I don't know.
Well, I mean, I'm not opposed to having another favorite be a bad boy.
I was about to say Diana likes them bad boys. That's exactly where I was going with it.
And I love Owen. Owen's my boo. I love him so much. So whatever he does is okay with me.
In the immortal words of the late great Owen Hart, enough is enough, and it's time for a change.
Right.
And I feel like that may be where Owen Knight is right now. I mean, think about this. Owen Knight has taken the high road for a long, long time. And it took him to the SHW championship, but it also cost him the SHW championship. And, to now be in a space where, he didn't get to win the Rumble Jack. Now you lose this best of 7 series. He may be rethinking a lot of things right now. And I understand that. And maybe that might be a good thing that we have a small extended break between shows to give him a chance to clear his head and really consider what's next. Now that we have a new matchmaker, maybe, he can be considered for the SHW championship. The problem, though, is I would think that after that best of 7 series, Naja would be ahead of Owen in consideration for the SHW championship. Yeah. But as we'll find out by the time we end this, I'm not fully sure the formulas that the matchmaker is using. That's not knocking him. That's just saying he's got a certain mindset in terms of picking matches. And so we'll see what that means. But take nothing away from Najasism, an amazing series. Yes. For him to come back from a clock out on the outside and win that match. And I mean, they went at it for quite some time. Yeah. It was an incredible match. Like, do yourself a favor, Watch
Watch.
this match on IWTV. It's special.
If you can find it somewhere, watch all 7 matches, or at least the ones that Southern Honor, and get a
Absolutely.
what we're talking about. If you haven't seen
Yeah.
any of this series, you missed out. Period. Point
It was
blank.
great.
So, you owe it to yourself to go check out at least a couple of these matches. I know we got 3
That's
of
right.
them. At least 3,
Sure did.
right?
Yeah.
That's right.
We got 3, 6, and 7. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But man, what a match. And
What a match.
we still had 3 more to get to, folks. So
Right.
I mean, I feel like
Oh,
we've
much
talked
more
about
to do.
a full show, but there's still 3 left.
Mhm.
This next one, I wasn't quite sure what was going to happen, at least starting out, because I had not had any kind of interaction with any member of Exotic Youth other than online, commenting a little bit back and forth or seeing their comments towards me after what happened at the award show in January. So I wasn't real sure what was going to happen, although the one thing I did know was that Cyrus the Destroyer was going to get his hands on Bryce Cannon, and I could not wait. So that's that did end up happening. It was Exotic Youth featuring Hunter James as a guest appearance, as Zach Mosley still not cleared to wrestle, still with the injury, still out there with a cane. Although, I mean, I know he's not cleared to wrestle. I'm just not sure if he actually needs the cane, because he uses it more as a weapon than he does like you're supposed to use the cane. It kind of reminds me of our old pal Logan Chase, who used to come around with a cane. And I'm like, he doesn't even need a cane. He's just using it as a weapon. Come on.
It's a pimp stick.
Yeah. Perhaps. I don't know. Whatever you want to call it. GB like that one.
I mean, what else could it be, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
who
his
knows?
slogans was a pimp stick. That's what I thought it was.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Well, with those jackets, I mean, it makes sense.
Mhm.
I love
Anyways, Exotic Youth, you had Bryce Cannon, Cornelius Pepperbottom, and teaming with, as far as we know, just a one-off situation here with Hunter James. Hunter James, Male Performer of the Year, and Exotic Youth, the Tag Team of the Year for 2022. So an award-winning trio
Like
taking
us.
on, yeah, exactly, taking on Top Team and Cyrus the Destroyer. You had Larry Lazard, Teriyaki, and Cyrus, and Top Team on their own. Whether it's 2 of them, whether it's them with Superstar Jay Lucas as a trio, Top Team is just incredible. We've seen them all over the state. We've seen them come up through the Nightmare Factory. These guys are fun to watch. They have been feuding, or had been feuding, with Exotic Youth all throughout 2022. I believe they were actually nominated for Feud of the Year, correct?
Yes, they were.
And they did not win that award, but they were deserving of that award because they'd been all over to many different promotions all throughout the state throughout 22. And man, what a fun team. So to see them teaming with Cyrus, and to see Cyrus finally get his hands on those punks, just made me so happy. Now, they actually got in our face like right at the beginning of the before the match started. And I was just like, GB, you take over, man. I don't even want to talk about these guys. Finally, they got in the ring though, and boy, that was fun. It was fun to watch Cyrus do his business. Although they still came away with the win.
I was gonna say,
Well,
I mean,
only because Cyrus got tied up chasing Pep. I mean, Pep's pretty quick. He's got those long, lanky little legs. So, I mean,
I'll just put it this way. Because I don't care about their win-loss record. If they win, they win. If they lose, they lose. I just want to see them get beat down.
That's
and
all.
They got beat down pretty good by Cyrus, so I was pleased.
I don't even care.
They got the W, whatever. But they got beat down.
But I'm going to tell you, they got the W because Hunter James showed out. I will say he showed out.
Yeah.
He really impressed me. I have not seen him work prior to this match. And Bryce and Pep literally threw him to the wolves every chance they could. Literally let him take all the hits. Literally let him take all of the ugly. And it was rude, but it was so Exotic Youth, right? And Hunter did his thing though. I mean, he did his moves, everything was amazing. I give props and claps to him. And I will say I did try to warn him before the match started. I was trying to coax him away just a little bit, just to give him a little advice, but Bryce caught me, so whatever. He got what he got, so whatever.
Oh, by the way, GB, and I definitely want to get your thoughts, but I don't want to forget this. Hang on.
Upside down.
There we go.
Yeah.
Put it
Yeah.
out in front. That is the best ever.
There it is.
Shout out to Cheyenne.
Cheyenne is amazing. That sign is incredible. The
She even
sign
signed it
girl
for me.
Yeah, the sign girl strikes again. I love it.
So
I love
good.
it.
Yeah, I
He's a
just had to
good-
give her props here on the podcast.
Definitely, that is amazing.
Well
I love her.
deserved. Well
much.
deserved. Yeah, it was a crazy match, a crazy night. Hunter James again, super impressive.
Yes.
And it's interesting because sometimes when we see people serve as a fill-in in a tag team, it doesn't always work.
Right.
Here was a case where if they decided to expand Exotic Youth to a fourth member, Hunter James would fit the bill.
It just makes sense.
I'm going to talk to him before that happens. Sorry.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I mean, that's
look,
Wunderkind
but
is special.
at the end of the whole deal, Bryce and Pelto threw him to Cyrus like he was just a rag doll, thrown to the wolves to play in tear up, and just took off. I mean, he took. Oh, I really did feel bad.
Despite all that, you guys are right. I mean, he showed up. He showed why he won Male Performer of the Year. And I want to go way back. And GB, we'd have to, open up that encyclopedia and help me remember dates and opponents and all that kind of stuff. But this was a long time ago. I believe he actually teamed with Georgia Avenger #1, or it might have been Avenger #2. And I can't remember who they took on, but it was a pretty quick
several
match.
years back. Yeah.
And
was several years back.
It didn't last very long. But to look at that and how quick that was, and it was just such a brief little taste of being at SHW. And to fast forward a year and a half or a couple years, however long ago it was, and to not only be the Male Performer of the Year, but now to be featured in a prominent match on a huge card at SHW, and to show up and show out like he did.
Yeah.
Just props to him, because man, that's coming a long way from the first time we saw him at SHW. So props to him.
Bright future. He's a young guy. He's got a lot of ability. I mean, I'm going to keep my eye out for him. I am a fan now. I will say that I am a Hunter James fan. I'm interested in seeing what else he's got in his schwazz. So
it kind of reminds me of another guy who came through our company, and we saw him very briefly. And I'm not going to say it didn't look like he'd be much, but he certainly has made massive improvements and is now on the world stage. Just defended the U.S. title last weekend in an elimination chamber match and won. Was in a marquee match at WrestleMania last year. We're talking about Austin Theory,
right,
who really has become that guy, another guy that walked through the doors of Southern Honor Wrestling. So this is another reason why, we are Southern Honor. We are the ones who you'll see stars here. You will see them in their embryonic stages. You'll see them, as they are developing into full-fledged stars. They become world champions. They do all kinds of things in this business. That's why you got to show up at Southern Honor, because you never know who's walking through the door, and who you see today that will show up on our television screens, a year or two from now. I mean, look at NXT. Brooks Jensen was part of Southern Honor Wrestling for quite some time before he made that move there. So I'm just saying, the streets are talking, the streets are watching. You should be there to watch as well.
That's right.
This is a kind of random side note that I just want to throw out there, but it kind of goes to show you how sometimes it's just a small world. But a buddy of mine, a coworker, a former coworker in the radio world, this was maybe 2 or 3 months ago. He said, "Hey, I know you do the wrestling commentary and blah 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 blah." He's like, my nephew is an indie wrestler in Georgia. I wonder if you've heard of him. His name's Hunter James. And I said,
what?
As a matter of fact, I have heard of him. And then fast forward a couple months later, and he's at our show.
Wow.
So shout out to my buddy Tug Coward, who I've worked in radio with for about a decade now.
Did he come out to the show?
He wasn't at the show, but I had told him, I was like, hey, actually he's booked on our most recent show. And prior to that, we hadn't seen a lot of him. We had seen him in that one time, that tag match I mentioned earlier.
Right.
But I knew the name. I knew who Hunter James was. Of course, we saw him and hung out with him at the award show. Oh, maybe I shouldn't say that. He's a bad guy. But I did hang out with him some at the award show, and we had a good time. And I sent the picture to my buddy, and he's like, "Oh, hey, you guys, how about that?" You know, it was just kind of cool for him to see us connecting. And anyways, it was just kind of a random, like I said, small world kind of thing. It's
Yeah.
like, but anyways,
Definitely. That's pretty awesome.
moving on down the list here, we've got a championship matchup. Gunnar Miller defending his title for the first time, mind you, against the number one contender, Chip Day, in a match that I don't think I say this a lot, but it's a match that I never know I wanted until I see it on paper or I see it on the poster when it's announced. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's going to be amazing. I never even knew I wanted that match. And now that I see it, that it's going to happen, this is going to be great. And I will say, you know, Chip came up a little bit short, but man, Chip, I really thought, you know, if you watch Elimination Chamber last week and you saw Sammy, and there were so many moments where I thought, oh, Sammy's going to do this.
Oh yeah.
Sammy's actually going to win this thing.
Oh yeah.
That's how I felt about Chip. There were times where I was like, oh, Chip's going to do this. And not to take anything away from Gunnar, but I thought, man, this is going to be a short reign.
Right.
You know, not the shortest reign. I won't get into that because I don't want anybody coming after me. But there have been shorter reigns. But I just really thought Chip was going to take it there. But Gunnar, in true Gunnar fashion, stepped up when it counted most, when you thought he was down and out, and pulled off the jackhammer, sore arm and all, and able to pull it off and come away with the victory, successfully defending the SHW title. You guys, your thoughts on this title match?
Well,
Bad Boy Chip, I know.
Bad Boy Chip. I was secretly pulling for Bad Boy Chip. I really was. I really wanted to see him.
I'm shocked.
Well, I mean, Gunner's great. He's a great champion. He wears it well. He has everything about him says champion. But Chip has he's deserved that shot for so long. And for him to possibly have won that match, I wouldn't have been mad, period. I already said that. I said that pre-show. But he really, really did his thing in that match. I mean, it was Chip. I mean, all the technique, everything. Chip in any match is great. I mean, but when you got somebody like Gunner who can go back and forth with Chip, and Chip's Chip Day, man. You know, his day is coming. He's gonna have a strap for long. He's gonna have that strap on his shoulders for long, and it's gonna be amazing when he gets that finally title on his name, and it's Chip. It's Chip.
Yeah. Yep. No, I agree with you. Taking nothing away from Gunner, there were two very interesting stories at work here. One story, of course, being the story of Chip Day, 16, 17 years in this business, finally getting a shot at the SHW championship in a one-on-one confrontation. How do you not understand that? How do you not feel for someone who's worked that long, that hard to get that opportunity? The other side of it is Gunnar Miller, who, we talked about this on commentary, that and actually, Diana, you were the first one to mention right here on this podcast the focus issues for Gunnar Miller. He was distracted by a number of things, one of them being Corey Hollis, a year or so ago. Put that away. And then there was the dishonor issue, right? So there was always something. Now that he had the goal reached of being champion and getting back in Gary's good graces, what would motivate him in this title match? Was being champion enough? And so one of the things that I learned from this match is the danger of a Gunnar Miller is Gunnar Miller doesn't have to be, and I want to say this carefully, Gunnar Miller doesn't have to dominate for 15 minutes in a match. Gunnar Miller is so explosive that if he hits you in 30 seconds, all he has to see, it's interesting. He understands the assignment. The assignment in a wrestling match isn't always to dominate. It's just to win in 3 seconds.
Right.
That's it. Or to have a submission. And so he's explosive enough to knock the breath out of you for 3 seconds and win the match. And so while Chip dominated in terms of wrestling technique, wrestling moves, wearing down the arm, having a strategy, all of those things, it was that explosive spear and the explosive jackhammer, those power moves that late in the match that ended up being the game changer for Gunner. And that's something that I don't know that anybody has the cure for yet. How do you get past the explosive speed and power of Gunnar Miller as champion? That's going to make for a very interesting reign.
It sure will. And we touched on it a little earlier. The main event has already been announced for the next show. I almost said for next month, but it'll actually be in April. Remember, April 14th, SHW49. So at the end of this match with Chip, Corey Hollis comes out and gets in the ring, and we're a little confused here. Like, what is he going to maybe explain his actions from the month before, or not even his actions, but Judas's actions to Gunnar Miller? Like, we didn't know what to make of it. It seemed like he was trying to maybe apologize to Gunnar for what had happened at the previous show, maybe, and Gunnar seemed like he wasn't having any of it. Meanwhile, here comes Todd Sexton, who tells everybody that, well, you know, when Corey lost the title a couple of years ago, he never got a rematch. So now that he's back, we're going to give him a rematch. Well, I should say he had gotten off the phone with Mr. Snake, as he said. And apparently that was the decision that was made. So now we're going to see a rematch between Corey Hollis and Gunnar Miller, a rematch from the retirement match that they had at Still Here 2 years ago, in which Gunnar Miller won and Corey Hollis retired from pro wrestling.
But this one's going to be regulation, right?
But hey, it's a wrestling retirement. So, you know, they don't always stick. So he's back. And now he's got a title match. And how crazy is that? Corey Hollis shows up, helps Gary win the company back, win control back. And then all of a sudden he finds himself in a title match. So
like that.
Yeah. And, you know, GB, I know you have an opinion on this because you talked about the whole thing about Judas coming back. And are we really, is SHW really getting the control back? And we said it last month. Did we just switch out Dishonor with Lethal Poison? I don't know. There's so much to unpack here. And what we do know, though, is that Corey will receive a title shot against Gunnar Miller at SHW49, April 14th. So you talked about will anybody be able to figure out how to beat Gunnar Miller? While Corey lost to Gunnar a couple of years ago, they're very close and they know each other very well. Corey might just be able to be that guy that can figure out how to beat Gunnar Miller. We'll find out on April 14th, but can't wait. It kind of sucks because it's going to take so long to get here. It's kind of like waiting on Christmas when you're a kid. It takes forever to get here.
Forever.
And I feel like that's going to be April 14th. Like, it's just going to take forever. But anyways, it's going to be a good match. But hey, we're not even done, folks, because there was a huge main event match after the championship match, and it was the Dark City Street Fight. Oh, boy. Murder One, Blacklist Uno, taking on the Black Cloud, Joe Black, who on this night brought back the Killerweight, Joe Black. And
Murder brought back the Killerweight from what Joe said.
That's right. He called him out and wanted that same Joe Black that put Hook through my car windshield a couple of years ago. And Joe Black said, well, you want the Killerweight? You're going to get the Killerweight. He brought him back.
Still in your yard?
Yeah. Well, it's another story.
All right, so here's the plan. Okay, if you're going to leave it, we're just going to decorate it. So
I need to get
like yard art or something.
I need to get like Joe and Huck to sign it or something, at least as a memento.
I guess so.
So when people ask me why it's all busted up, I can say, well, it was in this one of the greatest matches we ever had at SHW. Anyways, that was then. This was now the Dark City Street Fight. We saw. Remind me, GB, was it the bunkhouse brawl where they put up the one side of the cage?
That is correct.
Okay, so they did a similar thing here where they put up one side of the cage, and they put weapons all over that cage wall. And then, of course, our Piper's Pit folks over there brought in a grocery cart full of plunder once again.
Famous leg was out.
Somebody took the leg off again and was hopping around on one leg with the prosthetic leg being used as a weapon.
Bless that person.
At
Whoever.
one point or another, Murder One ends up in the cart, being taken on a tour around ringside, pushed around, slammed into the guardrails. Blood was shed. I mean, it was just complete chaos.
Yeah.
Complete chaos. You guys, I mean, what did you make of this whole thing?
Well, there was so much going on. And I already told you I was not going to stay ringside. I got out of there. So
You were moving and
I was
shaking.
watching. Yeah, I was watching from the stage area, and then they brought it up there.
I saw your reaction. I don't know if it's on camera, but I had to, I didn't want to laugh on the mic, so I was keeping my composure. But I saw you had moved, you had scrambled over by the stage, and then when they started coming, I saw you go, like you did that move, like now I got to move again.
Yeah, I mean, I already knew, but it's hard to get up that side of that stage without stairs. I mean, got to keep that in mind. But it was amazing. I didn't know what to expect from a Dark City street fight. I had no idea.
Yeah.
When they brought the half cage or the side cage and all the weapons that were there at their disposal, and of course Piper with all his goodies in the shopping cart, and thankfully he took the baby out before they took the cart, because the baby was sleeping so good in the front. Bless his heart. He was really sleeping well. And the bloodshed, it all on the stage right there in front of me. And I think what's most memorable about that part was Murder actually put the garbage can lid in his fist and punched Joe in the head with it. And then
he yelled, Captain America.
He did.
Yeah. He's holding it like a shield.
Y'all. But then the end of that, when they I'm gonna let GB talk before we spoil that, but
No.
we saw that coming.
Well, GB, I want to get your thoughts, but then I want you to kind of lead us into how we closed out, because it was insane.
Yeah, the match was extremely physical. We knew it would be, but even knowing it would be physical didn't prepare us for how physical it was. And then just the optics of Joe Black in all white and Murder One in all black. I mean, like the entrances, all of these things, it felt big. It was big. And these guys fought everywhere. And it was very, very brutal. I have to admit, with all of the brutality, I was shocked that Murder One came out as the winner. I was shocked, just because A, the last time they fought, he was dominated. B, they went back and forth in this street fight, so anybody could have taken it. Murder One takes the win, but then things got even more interesting. Joe Black seemingly was leaving, and Murder One was, kind of accepting his moment. And then here comes Happy Madness, and they're going to beat down Murder One. Of course, they pass Joe Black, and of course, Joe Black, Happy Madness, all, as far as we knew, part of Dishonor. But then Joe Black comes back. We thought maybe he was coming to join in on the fun that Happy Madness was having, but not the case. He turns on Happy Madness, turns on Dishonor. Seems as though we have now Joe Black, Murder One, seemingly back on the same page. But then comes Carly Bravo, who stands outside of the ring, and he's not sure
which way
where his allegiances align. Which way do we go? Which way do we go?
I will say this. There was a grin. You talked about that grin on Judas's face at the beginning of the night. There was a grin on Carly's face when he saw Sonny and Sal kind of getting beat down there, and I think he was remembering these are the guys that passed me by earlier in my after my match. And so have we officially seen, we saw the 2-finger salute from Joe Black and Blacklist Uno, Murder One. Is this the official arrival of the hierarchy here in SHW? Is Joe Black and Murder officially together now? It appears he's officially out of Dishonor, I would assume.
And he was inviting Carly out of Dishonor as well. But even going back before that little exchange, Joe, when he left the ringside and Murder was getting the beat down. but he seemed a little torn. Should he stay or should he go? Right?
Right.
Yeah, I'm not going to sing it, but should he
Yeah,
stay
I heard it. I heard it.
or should he go?
I almost.
And he really had to he really had to dig in his heart to see, you know what, that's my guy out there. I'm going to go and defend him. So it was like a spur. It wasn't like it was a planned thing. He wasn't sure if he was going to do that or not. So when Carly came out and saw the division, he was confused as well. He didn't know where to go, but the pull to the dark side was the darker side, should I say, was a little bit stronger, I think, than boys who left him hanging. So
Yeah.
Mhm.
So that's
I don't
that's
know
kind of
what
where,
to think.
yeah, that's kind of where we left the show was with that visual. And you remember when they were doing the 2-finger salute, Murder said, seal it with blood or sign it in blood or
Oh
whatever
my
he
God,
said.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
and so and those guys,
What was that? They exchanged like a stamp of blood and like, here, you take mine, I'll take it.
it's almost like
I've never seen anything like that before.
it's almost like a Blood Brothers thing that you would do growing up with like your best friends or something. I don't
We
know, but
cut each other and stuck
I
it
just-
together. That's probably unsanitary, but that's why we did it.
yeah, I don't know. It's so funny after 2020, everything is like, we used to do a lot of stuff that's like, oh, you can't do that anymore.
Yeah.
Where's my hand sanitizer? But yeah, but it looked like it was pretty official there to me.
Yeah.
That Joe was done with Sonny and Sal and
Mhm.
Dishonor. So again, there's something to think about there too. I don't know when Cruel is coming back, if Cruel's coming back. Brooklyn, we weren't sure if Brooklyn was even going to be there. We knew she was no longer in charge of booking, but that didn't mean she might not show up. But we didn't see her. And of course, Cruel's still not there. So I don't know. Again, we're always left with more questions than answers. So just find out what we find out at April 14th at SHW49. But what a freaking night it was, guys. It was just nuts.
What a night.
And
What a night.
like I said, we had those big surprises. Jake the Snake, Buff showed back up. AC Mack returned and announced that he was back in SHW. And just such a big night. And of course, like I said, the main event's already been announced for next month. It'll be Corey Hollis, or not next month, but April. The next show, Corey Hollis taking on Gunner for the SHW Championship. And of course, we've got several of these episodes between now and then. And we can't wait to see you guys back here next week for another edition of, well, I don't want to say the name because I messed up the one time where I said it and then you guys said it and then it didn't make sense. So until we see you next week, this has been
SHW.
This is our wrestling.
There it is. We did it right. Yes.
We got it right.
Yeah.